In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to negotiate with house prices when buying your house with confidence. Hi, my name is Wesley Craig, realtor in Silicon Valley Bay Area, and I am super excited to show you some tips that's going to benefit you when buying your house. Let's get started. When you're in the process of buying a home, you might get a little nervous thinking about how to negotiate house price with confidence. A few questions racing through your head might include, what is the exact protocol? How do you get started with negotiations? These are great questions because negotiating house price can involve some very specific tactics. Tip number one, start with a home inspection. Home inspections help buyers understand what's in good condition with the property that you're buying and what needs updating or repairs as soon as possible. Home inspections aren't required, but highly recommended, particularly when you want to use an inspection as leverage for negotiations. You can use the inspection report to ask the seller to cover the cost or repairs to take money off that asking price so you can pay for repairs, which puts less strain on your budget. For example, if the home inspection reveals that the home needs a new roof, you can ask the seller to reduce the cost of the home to be in line with the cost of that new roof. Tip number two, work with a real estate agent. When buying a home in the state of California, it's no cost to you to work with a real estate professional that's going to negotiate on your behalf and get you the best price for that home. It might be difficult to go through the home buying process without a real estate agent, and if you're seriously considering not working with a real estate agent, you might want to rethink that plan. Not working with a real estate agent can put you at higher risk of paying more for the property than you should. And so, would you rather work with a real estate professional that is motivated to get you and protect you and represent you and work on your behalf, or that's technically still no cost to you? Or would you rather try and do it yourself, pay way more and find out there's repairs and you didn't know about this and now you're upset at the seller and then you have to go to court? You don't want that, okay? Work with a real estate professional. Like myself, feel free to contact me anytime, Wesley Craig at 408-772-0087, or schedule a Zoom call with me at zoomwesley.com. Click the calendar, pick the time that works for you, and I'll see you on that Zoom call. All right, next tip. Tip number three, get sellers to cover the closing costs. As a buyer, you shouldn't just focus on finding ways to get sellers to commit to lowering their asking prices. You can also encourage sellers to cover at least part of your closing costs if you decide to purchase their home. The average price of closing costs typically range from 3 to 6% of the purchase price. There's an origination fee, which is the cost of setting up the loan. You also have the cost of getting the insurance on the deed. You can ask the seller to pay for some of these costs when negotiating the home price. A seller cannot pay more than the total amount of the actual closing costs. For example, let's say closing costs will be $15,000 for everything. The seller cannot pay over that amount. Don't hesitate to ask for personal property. As a buyer, you can negotiate from items in the home, not just discounts on the purchase price. For example, you may want to consider asking for the following items if it's owner occupied and not staged: furniture, appliances, artwork, landscaping tools or equipment, sheds if it's already out there. Make sure whatever you're asking for, if there's decor, to put it in writing in the contract. Don't just go off of verbal agreement. If the seller says, we're gonna leave our couch and TV, don't just take their word. Make sure you put that in the contract, because you don't want them going back on their word and you don't have anything in writing to cover yourself. So appliances are a big one. If the home is staged, then most likely you're not going to be able to get that furniture because it's with a staging company. But what you can do, and here's a little side tip, you could find out that staging company and ask them directly if they're willing to just sell you the furniture and already have it there. Sometimes that does work, and I've had clients that have done that. So that's just an extra side tip for you. All right. It's important to iron out what's included in the sale and what's not, so both the buyer and seller understand the details. Items that belong in the home, such as chandelier, can have an impact on that already established for the style of the home. Whatever the item is, you must clearly, like I said earlier, stipulate the request in your negotiation with the seller and communicate your wishes with your real estate agent. And put it in writing. Always put it in writing. Tip number 4, choose a closing date that works for you. The seller often tries to set a closing date based on their needs, but as a buyer, you can add and should negotiate a closing date to fit your preferred timeline. Sellers do have the option to rent the home from you if they're not ready to move out of closing. This is called a rent back agreement, and it requires carefully drawn up agreement that both of you and the seller sign. An attorney with expertise in real estate law can help both parties navigate potential issues during a rent back period, such as which parties pay for insurance. Now, rent back. When would you use a rent back, and why would a seller ask for that? For example, from being on the selling side, I had a recent client that needed a rent back. Why? Because they didn't want to, one of my clients, she was 5 months pregnant, so she didn't want to have to sell her house, move, and then find her next home. So what she ended up doing was she sold her house to these buyers. So the buyers came, bought her house, and now these buyers are now their landlords, and she was now the tenant. So she lived there for 2 months until she found her next home. And then once she found that next home, then she was able to move out, and that new buyer was to move in. Now, if you want to make your offer even stronger in a seller's market where it's very competitive, if that seller needs a rent back, offer that in your offer. Put it in the offer. Make sure it says that there is a rent back, and make it clear that you are putting in a strong offer, giving them that rent back. If you want to make your offer even stronger, offer them a free rent back. Say, we're going to offer this price, and we're also going to give you a free rent back until you find your next home. Now, how long can you put the rent back? That's a good question. 60 days is the max. So look at it this way, it's technically overall could be the max 90 days, because you get under contract, let's say it takes 30 days to close, you close, and then after closing date, 60 days is the max. So total could be up to 90 days. So you could put offering a rent back or sooner. So they may find the home sooner than later, and then you get to move in before that whole rent back term is completed. So make sure that your real estate professional is putting in clear detail in the addendum on what that rent back is going to cover. And if you want to find out more details on that, be sure to contact me, Wesley Craig, at 408-772-0087, or hey, schedule a Zoom call with me at zoomwesley.com. Pick the time that works for you, and I'll see you on that Zoom call. All right, moving forward. Tip number 5, know when to walk away. Now, negotiating, it takes time, but if you spend too much time trying to talk a seller into accepting your terms, it could backfire. You may want to consider walking away from the home in these instances. The seller isn't interested in negotiating. If the seller refuses to negotiate and the home price is still too steep for your needs, consider just walking away. We'll find other options for you. The inspection uncovers extensive repair problems if the home has some major issues such as major foundation damage or structural issues, plumbing or electrical issues, problems with the HVAC system, termites or water damage, you may just want to walk away from that. That's a lot of extra work, especially for a first-time buyer. You don't want to have to deal with that. The home may cost you more money later down the road than you can afford to pay or want to pay. Another reason, the home appraises for a lower value than the asking price. When the home appraises for a lower value than the asking price, that means your lender will likely decrease the amount you can borrow. You'll either have to pay more out of your pocket to come up with the difference, or get the seller to lower their asking price. If the seller won't budge, you may have to give up your chance at that particular home. But be careful, because depending on the terms that you have in your contract, you may risk losing your earnest money deposit, which is 3% of the purchase price. So be careful. Another reason would be the title comes into question. When issues related to title arise, you may feel safer just walking away, particularly if outstanding liens show that the original owner for the property still owes money on the home. For example, a construction worker might put a lien on a property just because the original owner hasn't paid a renovation bill. So if that lien is $50,000 and you're buying it, let's say you close, now you are responsible for that lien. So that's $50,000 that you don't want to have to pay, so be careful. All right. So don't be liable for that renovation bill. Long lost heirs might also show up out of left field demanding their portion of the property. Those are good indication that it's smarter to look at a different home. You can't negotiate your way out of some type of paperwork that is just a mess. Don't even deal with it. Walking away from your home you love can seem devastating. However, keep in mind that walking away, you can make offers on other similar properties faster, which means that you won't have to risk losing out on a comparable home. As a buyer, negotiating gives you a great tool in your toolbox because it allows you to get the best price on a home. However, remember that this process can take time, so don't rush. It's a big investment. It may be the biggest investment you ever make in your entire life. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video to the end. If you like this video, consider subscribing to the channel to see more content like this. And if you liked it, feel free to hit that like button. It's free, so please do that. It'll really help out the channel. And if you have any questions at all about this video or another video regarding real estate in Silicon Valley, Bay Area, California, be sure to reach out to me anytime at 408-772-0087 or schedule a Zoom call with me at zoomwesley.com. Pick the time that works for you, and I'll see you on the Zoom call. See you in the next video. Bye.